That was a chocolate croissant. Should I look into the camera or?
Look at me.
Yeah, okay. We're on Cranbourne Street at central London, and we've glued 25 breeze blocks to the road. This road normally has illegal levels of air pollution, and 25 Londoners die every day due to breathing in this toxic air. Our government is complicit in this crime, so we're using this law against itself, gluing ourselves to these blocks that are glued to the road to stop that crime being committed here today.
How long are you going to be here for, do you think?
We're here until we're not here anymore. The police have just arrived. It's taken them quite a while to come down. So this is a bit of a new technique for us. It's sort of similar to lots of bricks being glued to the road that's been happening in Hong Kong. I think that's where the idea came from, but I think it's definitely something that we can use in the future. For? I can't remember. But not this.
Oh no, it wouldn't be good enough. Well, you have to use a ton of it.
I don't think it would work in the wet. But if you want to know what it is, it's just put your hand in that bin there.
Nice.
Honestly, I think they're quite near the top. I don't think.
We've struggled, we've been looking since August, but all of the buildings in there have been bought out and then split into tiny offices and then sublet, so there's nothing at any kind of sensible cost. With a new deal, we'll have some ways of doing it. Because we're so central as well to the UK, it's a sensible meeting point with a lot of things. Pulling it off the road worker thing. You know, we've done an hour and we've moved on it. This might be our this might be our protest team.
Okay.
My name is Dr. Vishal Chauhan. I'm here with Extinction. My name is Dr. Vishal Chauhan. We're here today to grieve the 25 Londoners that will die today due to toxic, harmful air pollution in London. Levels of air pollution that have been found to be illegal for decades. The government is failing to act to respond to this crisis. Air pollution is the most obvious sign of climate breakdown, and it is killing Londoners today. That's not taking into account the increase in premature births, miscarriages, childhood asthma, lung cancer, heart disease that arises because of poor air quality. The system that we live in, the political system that we're operating under, is incapable of acting in the best interests of the health, safety and well-being of British people. That's why we're calling for system change. No political party is going to be able to carry out the changes that are needed. We need a citizens' assembly. Londoners don't get to choose what air they breathe. It's forced upon them. They're forced to breathe toxic, harmful air, and they become ill as a result. This is not okay. So we're calling on candidates to adopt our 3 demands bill and hand power to a citizens' assembly so that people that are affected by these issues can make choices about them. If Londoners could choose between having no congestion in the roads and having clearer air or having toxic, harmful air, it's obvious what they would choose. Yet politicians are failing to take that on board and act. So this is a public health intervention. Where governments aren't acting, we will act.
Tell you. I told you like a load of times.
Remember, you don't have to give any personal details until you get to the station. You can say no comment to absolutely everything they say.
Let's obviously with the shoulder, but do the best you can.
Of the road traffic act We're just placing objects to endanger African coastal. You don't have to say anything, but it may happen. Yeah, even if for your arrest, you obviously sat in the middle of the road. Yeah, that's fine. Due to the fact that you stepped the police box to it. Alright? Time of arrest is now 09:09.
A little bit. Over there, sir. Yeah.
Do you understand what my police have said to you? No, I tell you, you do understand. Mate, you just step away from me. Very much.
Order, saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter. Justice now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climb out. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna turn this system around. Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying
25 Londoners who will die today due to toxic, harmful air pollution. These are toxic levels of pollution that have been found to be unlawful and illegal. The government's tried to do something about this, but their policies are also unlawful. They've been taken to the highest court in Europe, which has prosecuted the government. We've laid out these tombstones because we are grieving the air that we breathe. Londoners have no choice. They're forced to breathe this air on a daily basis. If you live 50 meters from a main road, your chance of developing lung cancer is 10% higher. Not everyone can afford to move to the countryside. Not everyone can afford to move to where the air doesn't kill them. Poor air quality doesn't just affect the living, it affects those that are yet to be born. Lung capacity is lung growth is hindered by poor air quality. Children are born prematurely. More women miscarry because not enough oxygen gets to the placenta and then doesn't get to their baby. So children are not born because of toxic air quality. Our government is failing to act on this crisis. This is the front line of climate change. This is the front line of the ecological emergency. If governments can't act to stop this harm, if they can't look after the well-being and health of people and prioritize it, how can we trust them to be the governments and systems that will carry us through the future crises that are coming? We have evidence that 30,000 people die every single year in this country. That's the King's College London study of 2015. Clear evidence. Now we're starting to get evidence that Crop failures are happening in this country due to abnormal weather conditions. The Greater London Authority says we're going to face water supply shortages within the next 5 years. I quit my job as a doctor because how can I be treating people in hospital knowing that in 5 to 10 years they may not be able to feed themselves or have water to drink? We're calling for system change. This current government, this current system we live in does not prioritize health, well-being and safety of people. The so-called leaders that are supposed to take us through this crisis are in fact followers. They follow vested interests, the interests of businesses and what's popular. If you ask people what they want to be prioritized, they would say, my health. I want my children to not develop childhood asthma. I don't want their chances of lung cancer to be increased. I don't want my partner who has coronary heart disease to have an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes because of toxic air quality. People choose health and well-being over congested roads. They choose health and well-being over corporate interests. We're calling on the government to empower a citizens' assembly. A citizens' assembly puts power in the hands of the people that are affected by the crisis. So they can decide, they can listen to evidence and decide what they want to be done. If we don't carry out system change, then we're going to have another 10 years of catastrophic decline as the climate breaks down. So when voting in this election, the only response, if you care about the health and well-being of the people that you love, the only response is to adopt the 3 demands bill that Extinction Rebellion is putting out. It's the only response to this emergency, and it's not a radical change. 30 candidates have already adopted the bill and shown that they care about health and safety and well-being of people over the current interests that are being served.
Thank you.
It's 111A on progress MP, do we have a location?
Better from here now.
So as soon as we move someone, they're going to be, I'll be paying at the McDonald's on St Martin's Lane at this time. That's okay, thank you.
We was out of town anyway on our
GT, up 7-0. Go ahead and give up. Guys, can you find the location of I asked Congress now, we pay St Martin's Lane, McDonald's there, okay. And 110C. So, can I just get nomination officers shown on the police recovery and
there's only 2 of us doing that, it's extremely dangerous for us to have him. Whereas if 6 of us can do that, it's much safer for him to drop. Much
much so for us, we'll put backs out, and there'll be enough of us here. If 50, 60 kilograms on.
Asthma, etc. that happen. Poor air quality costs the government £57 billion every single year. £57 billion. Poor air quality, toxic air pollution is the front line of this climate crisis. People often say, oh, climate change, global warming, to be able to be empowered to choose whether they want to live under toxic air quality conditions or have increased numbers of childhood asthma attacks, heart attacks, strokes, and miscarriages as a result of the poor air quality. If we can't trust this system and politicians to act on air pollution, how can we expect them to act to stop biodiversity loss and to get us to carbon zero by 2025, which is what we need if we're going to stand a fighting chance of surviving this century? We need system change. We need people who are affected by the climate crisis to be
I was saying
have an opportunity to observe.
Put my book back, please. James, can you just take that book from her and give me that book? Can I have my book back, please? You are behaving like a little autocrat. Can I have my book back, please? Can I have my book back? Can you get my book back, please? You're putting me at risk by not letting me have my book.
Right, you can stand up now and put yourself, or... Guys, stand out the road, please.
No, it's much longer this time. Much.
Are you going to get on one? Right.
That's what I went for.
Respect, y'all. Respect. Sorry.
Sealed bag with a tag. Can I see that happening? Can I see that happening? So I need to keep my eyes on my bag.
Come down, we do it right in front of you.
Because I don't trust what's going on.
Come down, we do it right in front of you.
No.
This is there, you can see it's still going from there.
Okay, as long as it doesn't go from that position.
We'll just come with you when you come down. Why don't you come down now?
Hear the voice of my great granddaughter saying, "I'm injustice now."
Levels of air pollution, it seems something which is kind of far away and doesn't really affect us. I think what people sometimes don't recognise is that when they measure air pollution in London and they say it's legal limits, they're actually measuring up here. It's a 2 to 2.4 metre height. So when they say it's illegal levels of air pollution, it's really important to know that you're all breathing much higher. About that, and you think about children, which is certainly my case with 3 young children under 5. They're down here. Let me get down that level. So when we talk about breathing exhaust from car fumes, which is the source, this is the level that they're breathing at. So when we're thinking about how tall we are, they're breathing, research shows, around 30% more than we are. Then you start thinking actually, well, what about the children in buggies? Now, it's not down here, it's all the way down here. If you think about a child in a buggy, they're all the way down here. Their faces are this low, close to the ground. And then when you've got vehicles here, wheels here, exhaust pipes here, that's pretty serious what they're breathing. In addition to that, you may have noticed that children and babies breathe 3 times faster than we do. So they're actually, relative to their body weight, they're breathing 2 to 3 times more toxic air than we are. So we're talking higher concentrations because they're closer to the vehicle exhaust pipe, and we're talking higher volumes because they breathe much more rapidly and take in more air. In addition to that, until they're 5 to 6 years old, their immune system isn't developed, not fully developed, so they can't fight off these toxic fumes from these vehicle exhausts. So we say, well, what's the law to stop vehicle riding? We know it's bad for children. There's children, there's 200 of them outside of school, there's a vehicle idling right there. How can we stop it? They say, well, actually, it is against the law. We say, fantastic, well, let's take action. Now, if I go up to a driver who's idling and I say, oh, they will then observe the person idling. Yep, they're idling. So they go up, knock on the window, say, can you switch your engine off? They will then give them 2 to 5 minutes grace period to turn their engine off. 2 to 5 minutes. Just to put that into context, 1 minute of idling is equivalent to around 150 balloons filled with toxic gas, including things like cyanide. So there is absolutely no incentive for people not to idle. So people idle every day. So when you see children outside schools and you see these vehicles idling next to them and you've got to question yourself, well, what is the council fuel? Then actually we're going to lose a lot of revenue. So the fuel companies don't want to stop burning fuel, they don't want to stop idling. The car companies, they don't want to idle. And then you think about the exchequer. Now the exchequer earns 68 pence per pound from the fuel at the pump. 68 cents per pound. With stunted lung capacity, 1.1 million children in the UK with asthma. And we know that the school run, the doctors are all telling us, the scientists are telling us, and yet it happens every single day. So we have to actually recognise that the government isn't going to help us. The mayor, I've spoken to him, I actually went to City Hall, we sat down and spoke to him, he said he's going to raise the fine to £160. I said, well, the fine doesn't make any difference because no one gets fined. He said, in that case, please sign a petition and share it with your millions of followers. He said, actually, I can't sign all petitions. I said, yes, but you want to solve this. It's a very small thing to ask, which is, if we know the government aren't going to change, we know TfL, the mayor, councils are not going to protect our children, it becomes down to us as people to actually stand up and make a difference. If that means we have to rebel.
You've been very aggressive to my colleague, alright? Thank you. Sam. Yeah, you're very hostile. You put stuff down and some concern to the place that you might have I can see you.
Why was I hostile?
That's up to you, why you've been hostile, but
You took my boat.
I didn't take nothing.
It's quite serious claim for that.
Yeah, it was serious like How much is it?
It's like £15 per balloon. Like 30 of them.
Oh, look at them smashing it. Wow.
The first one came off really easily.
It's in a Google Doc and then it can send it to like everyone who needs to have a look at it. And Sarah can have things